Morning, everyone. We're just letting everything work out. Everyone who's been on this before, I've got a big bank of lights behind. I'm just waiting for all the social media to kick in. We've got Zoom open now. We're just waiting for everyone to come in on that. We've got the brilliant Chemmy. We've got the brilliant Mark. Guys, I had a funny one yesterday. I work my cars, motor cars, pretty hard. And my old Volvo died a couple of weeks ago. And I went way up north to pick up a new one. But it's so, when I say new one, second-hand new one, but it's so high tech that when I picked it up, I was barreling down the A1 and needed to fill up, and I went to a garage and I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't turn off this car because I didn't know how to. So I was pulled up at these pumps and couldn't turn it off. And there was a postie, and I said, "Mate, this is really embarrassing, but can you help me turn this off?" He said, "Oh, my son-in-law's got one of these," and he helped me to turn it off. And it just got me thinking about tech, and also with the just bear with me with this one, with the rugby stuff that I do. I always think about those tags that the rugby players have in the back, so the managers can see when they're going to blow, when they're going to run out of steam. Chemmy, in skiing, just like in motor racing, where you can track your circuit. I've always wanted to ask you this. In skiing, can you tag? Can you data log a run and then compare it with yourself, with your previous runs with competitors? How does that work?
Yeah, there are quite a lot of apps that do that. I find them a little bit dangerous because obviously we've all got egos and we are inspired by elite athletes and we want to beat them. But what the difference is in skiing is that when we race 90 miles an hour down a hill, it is fully private. There's a huge amount of netting, a huge amount of teams to make sure no one is on that environment. So when I see people doing it, and sometimes you see people skiing holding their phones out so that they can track their speed, and I'm like, this is incredibly dangerous. So wow. I do think it's quite fun to do, but what you've got to realize is that there are safety concerns involved with trying to beat those who do ski these slopes in very fast speeds, but in a very controlled environment.
People are actually skiing, looking at the phones, trying to.
Oh yeah, when these apps first came out, I genuinely saw someone just miss a pylon on a ski lift because they were looking at their phone, trying to get like their top speed in their group of friends for the day. So although it's fun, and I think it's really important to data log and analyze performance, there is a time and a place for it.
Well, there you go, Mark. Mark, are you, when you next go skiing, Mark, are you going to be holding your phone out to see how fast you're going backwards?
Yeah, trust me, I wouldn't be able to hold my phone. I'd be concentrating on staying on upright.
There is a goggle manufacturer who, to get past this, did make a pair of goggles. I'm not going to name drop, with a speedometer on the inside underneath the eye a few years ago. So you were skiing down and you could look and see your speed. But again, that is very bad for your focus levels because looking down means you've got no external.
Every male BMW vision. Driver would want one of those. Guys, right, we're live. Everything's kicking on. Hello, my name is Max McGillibury from Beanstalk Global. I love doing broadcasts with Chemmy and Mark. Chemmy, this is only the 67th time we've had you on. It's brilliant. It's just But why do we keep on?
Got new things to say?
I know. Well, why do we keep on getting you back on? Because you're brilliant. So let me do the let me do the serious bit, especially for those people on the podcast. So we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter, X, Y, Z, whatever we're going to call it today, and also on the podcast. Privileged to have Chemmy Alcott with us on AHDB Talking Leaders, stepping into your next chapter. And we know how important it is to be inspired by both big businesses and individuals, which is why we're really excited to present the Talking Leaders broadcast with the magnificent AHDB team of Mark and Isaac and their colleagues. And with this, we see a series of inspirational speakers share their life experiences and deliver impactful stories to the AgriLeader community. So Mark, help me with this one. We always want to get people like Chemmy in because we could be a bit critical of our sector and say we're a bit siloed in our thinking. And if we get really interesting, wild, crazy, inspirational people like Chemmy in, we're going to learn from them, Mark, aren't we?
Yeah, no, definitely. We're definitely going to learn from them. And it's amazing the number of people that we've had. And Chemmy, this is the 3rd September that we've had you on. That there's always little nuggets that we can take away from other industries and other people's experiences that we can really, truly implement within a farming business.
So Chemmy, who is Chemmy? Chemmy is an English former World Cup alpine ski racer and a fiercely determined and courageous sportswoman. As the only British female skier to ever win a run in a World Cup. She's widely regarded as one of Britain's greatest ever skiers. She's only broken 49 bones in her time, and she's no stranger to adversity and remains committed to inspiring the next generation and educating people from all over the world through sport. Since retiring from competing on the world stage after the Sochi Olympics in 2014, Chemmy presents for the BBC on Ski Sunday and commentates for the World Cup ski series for Eurosport. She completed an ITV Dancing on Ice 2012, where she finished a grand 5th place. In addition to her TV commenting and hosting events, and despite retiring, you'll never retire, shall we? She continues to constantly push her body to the limit, competing in multiple physical challenges, including the world's toughest ski race in Greenland, the 100-mile road race in London, and climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, raising nearly £1 million for charity in the process. For Chemmy, charity work is very important, as she's visited multiple underdeveloped countries such as Rwanda and Tanzania, raising money for areas of conflict resolution. Join us today for Chemmy to see what's going to happen on take 3. Chemmy, was it? I think we've missed one of your. Was it last year that you did Brazil?
The Amazon. I think it was. I was just leaving for it, wasn't I?
Yeah, tell us about that.
And I was probably really excited. Now, this is really important because I still haven't learnt why I rafted the Amazon. I always feel like there's a eureka moment and you gain knowledge and empowerment for pushing yourself out your comfort zone. That's what I'm all about. But actually, this one has taken me quite a long time to determine how I've grown through this experience. So last year, turned 40, didn't want to have a party, so decided to do something where I would grow through the experience. I didn't want to do anything with the snow involved because it's my comfort zone. So I was like, right, I'm going to raft the Amazon. Entered a race, the Great Amazon Raft Race, where you make your raft. They literally put you on an island at 45 degrees and you've got these blunt machetes and a couple of trees knocked down and you've got to make your raft. It was a nightmare, actually. The whole race was completely corrupt. Unfortunately, we landed. They wanted more money. No other teams had entered. The locals are big fans of this race because they win prize money and they are very good at it. So a lot of the locals entered, but internationally they didn't get the numbers. And they used to get around 80 teams, but we got there last year and there were only 3 teams and we were one of those. And so we went to the welcome meeting and they said, right, unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel this. Now, I wanted to do a women's raft, but 2 of the girls couldn't compete in the end. So I had to pull in my husband and one of our great friends to do it, which meant that we were leaving our kids for 10 days without us, going to the other side of the world, taking on this massive challenge. It cost us a huge amount of money. We were raising money for charity as well. So I was not best pleased when I was told that the race was cancelled. Wow. Quite a passionate person. And I was like, right, well, what's the solution here? What do you need? Because there's always a what do you need? And essentially they said, we need a lot of money because it's a very dangerous stretch of water. And we've seen that actually recently with some of the news items of what's happened on the same Amazon stretch that I was on actually. And they said, we need money because without money, we can't have a police boat. And then you can't have anyone supporting you on the Amazon and you need that. And so, you know, I'm like, right, practically, what kind of money do we need? We've made huge amount of efforts to come down here. So they put a number on it, went back into the room there was one participant who'd done this event like 10 times before, who had a TV crew with her. And she said, I'm not paying because there's nothing to stop them say every day we want £2,000 every day. We need this and this and this. There's nothing to, and I was like, well, at some point you've got to trust people. And I've come down here pretty experienced and to raise money, and I'm really stubborn. It's not a great characteristic, but I was like, we're making this happen. We're doing this one way or another. So we agreed to do it, and we delivered them the money the next morning. And it was all, it was just, it just didn't feel great in your gut what was happening. But anyway, we did get to the start line. We tried to build our own raft very unsuccessfully that we should have maybe put a bit more attention into. I thought there might be some locals there who would support us in building rafts with some knowledge, but I didn't realize we were actually on this island. So we did have to rebuild our raft every single day because it kept sinking. The first day, our aim, racing against the locals, was to keep them in our sight for the first half an hour. Now that is a tiny, minute goal. I really believe that we could manage that, in that we were rafting that first day for 10 hours. I was like half an hour in our eyesight on the Amazon, big wide water. It took about 10 minutes till we couldn't see them anymore. I mean, the pace was insane. So for me, it was incredible how quickly I got to a dark place in endurance racing. And it wasn't the physicality of pushing hard. It was mentally, we were ill prepared. We hadn't created a good enough raft, and we didn't know if we could complete this race. And there were so many negative experiences from this. And I'm an eternal, you guys know this, a positive person. And I was like, right, we're going to do this. It's just not going to be the experience that we anticipated. And we did, we muscled through it. The only golden memory I have is that because we were in the water for so much longer than everyone else, we were in the water at sunset every day when everyone else had finished. We saw pink dolphins and no one else saw pink dolphins. And there was this moment of gratitude, because those pink dolphins came when we were in the midst of a horrendous storm that first day. The second day we were, I was quite lucky. I didn't have a monitor. Talking about, we started this podcast with monitoring data. I didn't have any watches on because I didn't want to. I know that for me, endurance racing, I just need to get into that mindset. I don't want to be looking at the clock the whole time, because I can get quite sad by the fact that we're not going anywhere. So Dougie was in the back of the raft and he knew our speed. He was monitoring our speed. And there was a moment where we were going 0.9 kilometers per hour. We were doing 180 kilometers. Okay. So he's looking at this and we're putting maximum effort in, but we're not going anywhere because of all the tide. So it was really amazing for me, actually, to go to such a unknown, dark place and come out of it. But I did think that in the last 9-10 months, I would be hit by a reasoning for it. And I haven't got that yet. But I think when you're challenged like that, it does tend to take some time to come out the other end.
Yeah. I think, didn't we say in one of the previous broadcasts that life begins outside of your comfort zone? And I keep on saying this. And Chemmy, you just are so inspired in respect to that. I suppose the next obvious question is, what's next? If you've done that and you always find a positive from it, what's next? I
think what I've realised is that I do not like endurance racing. I don't like being bored. I like being pushed to my limits in terms of danger and excitement. That is my comfort zone. Even though I push it, and every time I'm doing something a bit more radical, what I really don't like is having time for my brain to think. Now, I think this is an area where I very much need to improve, because I think that is where you can have moments of really heightened creativity when you've got silence around you. But I don't welcome silence. I don't welcome endurance. I don't like monotony. So it takes me about 2 years to forget that. And then I sign up for an endurance challenge again. But I think that's an area that's really important for me to get comfortable with. And I do yoga and I do meditate. So I do try and force myself. But as I said to you guys, I crushed some yoga this morning, 30 minutes. But then I was late for my next appointment. So then I'm super stressed going into it. So I don't think I really get the benefits of that calm, quiet time, which actually is imperative for us. We all got to know where our weakness is. And my weakness is my brain having quietness around it.
Mark, I think Chemmy's every psychologist's nightmare.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having said that, I'm not allowing myself to have any quiet time going forward. Last year also involved me saying yes to a POV, a ski run where I'm filmed on Ski Sunday while skiing at 70 miles an hour. And we're talking a lot about transitions today. So I'm just going to backtrack on why I retired from the sport that I absolutely love and have so much passion for, is because my last surgeon told me, and I think I've mentioned this before, that if I crash with the metalwork in my leg now, he would have to amputate my leg from my knee down, because I don't have the bone structure that can handle the forces of ski racing anymore. So that was great for me, because that was someone taking my obsession with my dreams and my stubbornness to achieve my goals away from me and say, it's okay, you've done an amazing job, you've had 4 Olympic cycle in you, but now is the time to move on if you want to see yourself playing and working in the mountains. So he said that to me. And then fast forward a bunch of years, I get this dream, my second dream job. My dream was to win the Olympics and to work on Ski Sunday. And I think this is really important. I'm living my second dream. And so often you think that there's a pathway to success and that you have to notch up all of these achievements along the way. but actually you can completely go off tangent, but still get back. There are many ways to tread to get to your end goal. And I didn't go the way I wanted, but actually I think I'm more successful on Ski Sunday because I didn't win an Olympic medal, because totally. I have more empathy. I've got more storytelling skills because I don't just look at the medal table. So anyway, so I get on Ski Sunday, and I get some great feedback. But the one thing that keeps coming up is, oh, Chemmy, we missed the camera runs that the former presenter did. And I'm like, okay, yep. And I keep thinking, okay, I've got an excuse. I've just had a baby. I can't go 70 miles an hour. What's my excuse now? And at the end of the day, I'm like, right, I've got to do this. My ego was so big. I suppressed it for so long, but I was like, I've got to do this because this is what people want. Anyway, and last year I did the camera run, but at the same time, that voice of that last surgeon and what he said to me was going on in my head. But I was like, right, this is a different role now. I've transitioned. I am not a ski racer. I am a TV presenter. I've got to rely on my presenting skills over skiing fast. And it took a lot of work, and it took a lot of self-talk going into it. But I did do it, and it got received really well. In fact, I stabbed myself in the foot because it got received really well. That everyone wants me to do more. And I'm like, oh, gosh. But so that was a big thing for me, because that was something I thought I would never be able to do. But peer pressure made me do, and I loved it. So I think sometimes we do things for other people and we think, what are we going to gain from this? But actually, sometimes other people believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And you can, tag on to that a bit. So that was massive for me last year. I feel like I'm doing a very long answer. Yes, sorry, Mark.
I'm just thinking, and a question to jump in and ask, that you've gone from being a professional athlete where everything is very prescriptive, you're driven, it's probably mapped out on a minute-to-minute basis, 7 days a week in terms of how you operate. What came first? So your surgeon says, look, if you carry this on, I'm going to have to chop your leg off. What came first, the decision to stop or the call from the BBC to say, we've got your second dream?
So, well, that dream's been there since I was a 5-year-old. And obviously I do like talking. And I like being on TV, and I love my sport. So I always knew that was something, Mark, that I wanted to go into. But no, I made the decision to retire first. And then I wanted to, so I was in an amazing relationship. And what you see a lot with female athletes when they retire is they rush into motherhood because they're looking for a very strong new identity straight away. And I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to delay it because I wanted to see who I was without ski racing, it's just quite a brave thing. I defined myself by being a ski racer my whole life. And I've got this really weird name. So I would call people up and say, hey, I'm Chemmy, the ski racer. And they'd be like, oh yeah, we know exactly who you are. So that was who I was. So I take away half of that. And who are you? And so it was really important for me to find my passions, to find my life structure. You called that really well. I knew that I wanted to retire, and I knew that physically I would be able to keep up with it because I set myself all these goals, like the world's toughest ski race and everything, so that I would train. But it was that mental, what daily goals do I have now? What reason do I have to get up and go now? Like every day as an athlete, the simplest goal, every day I want to be stronger, better, faster. You take that away. When I'm retired, I don't need to be stronger, better, faster. Well, I do actually. I need to be better. I've just got to look away from the elite level sports side and find out who mold myself through that transition. And change is inherently and understandably scary. But my big thing is that fear is something that we need to cuddle. Oh my gosh, we need to find fear, embrace it, and grow through it. And I think I was mentioning this to you guys. It's been something I'm very passionate about. I've now managed to make that a real avenue of happiness for me to go out there and be a keynote speaker on the power of fear and normalizing fear. And something now where I've noticed that our young children, our legacy, it has an adversity to risk and fear that will massively limit their potential in the future. So I'm now writing a book, Normalizing Fear for Children. So yeah, it's something that I'm really passionate about. So actually I was ready to retire because I was really excited to find out who I was without that part of me.
Yeah, and I suppose just building on the point, was it Graham Bell that used to do the runs? So going into his boots and his skis, and something that you had in the back of your mind that if I mess this up, this could end in losing my leg. I suppose you had to change your mindset that you're a TV presenter that's a fairly handy skier and can fit ski fairly quickly, rather than I'm actually racing to try and.
I mean, that was really, really hard, because I was being egged on left, right, and centre by all the coaches who were still the same coaches from when I was racing. They wanted to see if I'd still got it. And, you know, you just, you got that ego part of you that will never leave. But it's actually a real benefit that I have. You know, my self-belief is something that is still carrying me very far in my career. But also at this age, like you said, then I made mistakes on that run. But actually, I still had fun. And I think if I'd skied like that as a racer, I would have been so disappointed. But I was trying to talk. I mean, you don't often have to talk at 70 miles an hour the whole way down. It's quite funny, because I had the piece map, and all the corners on the course are called a certain thing. It's very official, so that all the commentators in the TV box have the same words. But I had so much more time because I was actually skiing it. But I started making up names as I was going down. And there was this one corner with 3 rollers, and in 1999, I raced the Vale World Champs, and there was a corner like this. And I haven't thought about this since 1999. But as I was going through this corner live on TV, I'm like, oh, and this is the first rolled Huey, and here's his brother Louis, and there's Dewey. And anyway, so somehow in that moment of adrenaline, I was like renaming the track left, right, and centre. And I think that's relying on your instincts and trusting that to go. But it was, it was amazing to do. I'm really proud of myself. My children were very proud. That was quite nice for me, because for years I felt a huge amount of mother guilt with the amount of time I'm away from them. I mean, they're boys born in January the 13th and the 19th. 16th, sorry. I've seen them once on their birthday, and that was when I gave birth to them. It's terrible timing to have children for me, who works in winter sports. And for years I've had to spend a lot of time away from them. But after I did that camera run, people were coming up to them, being like, oh, I saw your mummy racing on TV. And they were so proud to tell, like I was eavesdropping on their reaction to that was amazing. And it made it all worth it, because I think a lot of parents, I'm not just going to say women, but parents, feel like they're not allowed to go back to work. They're not allowed to have this other existence, because everything has to be about having and growing these amazing young children. But actually, I'm a better mum because I still do all these crazy things. And that was the moment that I saw it was worth it.
Excellent.
Can I just give you an example? I love this line, you need to cuddle fear. Chemmy, Mark, what do you think to this? I recently went to a agriculture university, and they said about that when you go to university, you have to do a prospective interview. And so this young man was going to go up for this prospective interview. He didn't attend. His mother attended on his behalf for his interview.
Because he was scared.
Or the mother was a helicopter parent. And just emphasizing what you were just saying about you need to cuddle fear. We all 3 of us know what it's like. Chemmy, you more than most, even more so, that you sometimes need to put yourself in a position of discomfort to learn from it. And
you always have to, yeah.
But can you imagine that scenario of this mother?
I think unfortunately fear has the worst emotional PR ever, and that's something that we really need to change. We need to tell people that it's not just okay to be scared, it's imperative to be scared to show that you're getting out your comfort zone. And, I know the followers of this all know my story, that I chose to be subpar 80% of the best that I could be for around 8 years of my competitive career. Like, I chose to not be my very best. And then I put myself in a position where I could be 100%. And yes, I got great results, but I also got hurt a lot afterwards. But that period is the most satisfactory period of my competitive life, because I was going out there and being my very best, living at the maximum that I could be and pushing it, obviously. And I think that I was scared all the time. I was scared whether I was going to crash or whether I was going to win and how I was going to handle all that pressure. But I just think we really need to change how we understand and react to fear.
Yeah, Chemmy, it's almost like we need a book for younger people, younger generations. What are your thoughts?
I mean, my book's called Turning Belly Butterflies into Dragon Wings. And it's something that I always say to young kids, when I'm putting them in the start gate, when I'm coaching, is, have you got the belly butterflies? And it takes them a while to trust me enough to say yes. And I'm like, okay, great. Because once we've established that you care about this enough to feel nervous, we can then launch our wings and fly through life. And I think that's something that is really important, whether you're 5 doing a ski race or you're 50 and you're a farmer going against the grain. Sorry for the pun.
So Mark, what do you think we can learn from this? You need to cuddle fear to turn those belly butterflies, Chemmy, help me, into
dragon wings.
You weren't listening, Max.
I couldn't read my writing.
I think it's so important, and I think reflecting and thinking about the farming community, and no disrespect, that farmers are very habitual, and potentially it then gets passed down generations, which makes that certain change of direction or that certain challenge to step outside a comfort zone, make a little change to the business, make a big decision, whatever that may be, that you do need to embrace those things. I personally, there's things that I know that I struggle with and I would shy away from, but you being self-aware and being able to do that, you have to put your big boy pants on, and sometimes you have to step outside your comfort zone and do those things. And I think it's, the things that you've said and Chemmy, and then starting young, particularly through the COVID and things like that. I look at my son turns 15 this week. He won't pick the phone up, even to my mother, his grandmother, because he doesn't like talking on the phone. It's like, come on, son, you've got to do some of these things to overcome and move these things forward. And it's a silly, basic example, but
yeah, it's like that incrementally facing your fears. I just want to pinpoint something, because we've worked together a little bit, Mark, and I want to say about farmers, because it's all fell and where me coming in and saying this, but actually what I think that there's a huge strength in the farming community of legacy and loyalty. And I think that when we're talking about change, we're not talking about undoing what the generations before have done. It's about remolding yourself, moving with the times. And it's not saying what they did is wrong, because I think that's really important. Farmers are innately loyal and they're part of that community. And it's not going against everyone. It's not going,
making that 1 degree shift that is a small shift now that actually in 12 months, 6 months down the line has actually made a bigger difference. Yeah.
So legacy and loyalty, crikey! I think you've hit it on the head there, Chemmy, in respect of farming. So what are we trying to say to people here? What can we learn from you, Chemmy, on the subject of stepping into your next chapter? I just want to go back to one thing. I was involved with a university presentation this week, and they had a really interesting guy he's a professor of digital learning, and he's head of AWS, Amazon Web Services for education. So a really big hitter. And he opened his presentation saying, "I'm really nervous in front of 250 people. I'm really nervous. I don't enjoy doing this. I've actually received a bit of counselling on this. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to get on with it, and hopefully." And you can see he's obviously done this a couple of times. But I spoke to him and interviewed him afterwards. He says, "No, Max, I don't enjoy it, but I've been taught by professionals the only way to get over this is to actually go out there and blinking well do it. So this is what I do, and I've actually started to really enjoy it now." And I find it very beneficial for me and for Amazon, who I work for, and I get really great feedback from it. So, Chemmy, can we just emphasize that point, that if you're nervous, just like Mark with his 15-year-old son, that we should step forward, we should step out of our comfort zone?
I mean, the hardest paths that we tread are those unknown to us. But every time we force ourselves to tread them, like think about going into a jungle. The first time you go, you've got to have a machete. It's never been walked before. You've got to really make loads of effort. You've got to force yourself to go forward. But every time you tread that same path, it gets easier and easier. And you can make that path longer and tougher for yourself. I'm actually the same with keynote speaking. I know a lot of people don't believe this, but when I retired, it was something that schools really wanted me to go in and speak. And I used to be so nervous. Really? I couldn't sleep the night before. Wow. And then I thought, what did I do as an elite athlete to handle my nerves? Well, I prepared, I planned more, I got support, I asked for community help. So that's what I did. I got a speech talking mentor who's an amazing guy, and I invested in me to tell my story. And it's got to the point now where I'm very, very lucky that I travel the world talking about this. And it's also taken me a few years to justify why I'm getting these jobs over people who are really successful. And I think that it takes a lot of confidence to stand there to say, I'm here because I failed. but it's much more relatable. I've spoken in some amazing places around the world after elite level athletes who stand up and say, I'm so-and-so, I won an Olympic gold medal because I'm the best, I'm innately talented and I worked hard. Now that isn't relatable to most people. So actually for me, it's taken a lot of confidence to go out there and talk about all the adversity I faced and the reasons why I failed and what I've learned from every single time. But that has made me a better presenter, a more relatable presenter.
Yeah, brilliant. And the next question, just the question is, but let me just add to it. Do you have a plan? Within agriculture, we're always told you've got to have a plan. And there's quite a few farmers who, Mark, help me here, it's about a third of all farmers don't even have a will. They've got no, we're talking about legacy, they've got nothing set up for the next generation. They've got their head in the sand. They don't have a plan. And we're always told in business to have a plan. Chemmy, do you have a plan? What's your advice to all of us as to how we should look to plan our future, whether it be, I don't know, personally or on a career perspective? What's your plan?
I do have a plan, but I want to say when I retired from ski racing, my choice was to say yes to everything, to put myself in situations I didn't enjoy, to realize that this is the lane I liked and this is a space that I thought I wanted to go to, but I didn't. And actually now I think I've got my lane, and what I've decided, working in TV, a lot of people say, well, why aren't you doing more? Why don't you go for this job and this job and this job? And what I've realized is that I'm really confident in my lane because I have this huge amount of knowledge here. And with my lane, it's opening up opportunities to wear different hats, which I also really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I think I went through years of saying yes to everything, to explore every experience. And I tick some as success, and then I tick some as, not a success. But actually, the more things that I didn't enjoy, the quicker the roadblock came. So the more I could walk those other paths that I was enjoying and that I realized I could make a career out of. So I think there are moments where you need a plan, but there are moments when you've just got to go with the flow, especially if you don't have a plan. Like if I don't have a plan, I will go with the flow, and that will direct me to something that I enjoy, because that is the first thing. You will be successful if you have the passion. So you go that way, and then that expands your plan and creates your plan.
I think, Mark, we might have spoken before about it. Chemmy, one thing I've learned within business, if you can be niche in the business area and sort of crowd out the competition, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to earn from it, whether that be positively, emotionally, or financially. And in effect, that's what you've done. You've got niche, because you could have presumably done and anything else because of your impact within TV, but you just wanted to remain niche and enjoy it, and not dominate, too aggressive word, but create a certain profile in there, so you become the go-to with it. So you've remained niche within your sector.
And there's no harm in that. I think that sometimes when you get to the top of that sector, you think, oh my gosh, I've got to then branch out. Or you don't. You can just push the boundaries where you're good at. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to learn how to wear other hats, working in sustainability. I've just become an ambassador for Protect Our Winters. So I'm doing loads of carbon literacy training right now. And I find it fascinating and imperative. And this kind of started a few years ago. I didn't even notice whilst I was a competitive ski racer that the mountains were dying around me, because I was so narrow focused. And that's what I needed to do. I traveled the world. I trained, I raced. I didn't really look up. I very much looked inward. And then when I retired, I essentially returned to a glacier, the Vallée Blanche, and probably Mark's heard of it. It's one of the best 20 kilometers of the best off-piste skiing in the world in Chamonix, on top of a glacier. And when I skied it at 10 years old, there were 5 steps to get to a gondola, which took you up to a train taking you out the valley. And I went back there for my husband's 30th, 25 years later. And those 5 steps have turned into 580 steps. Because that is how much glacier retreat. So the glacier is now more than 100 meters of depth. So more than Big Ben, less in every part. And I mean, that is the most in your face evidence of climate change that I think you can have. And once I'd seen it, I couldn't unsee it. So I'm like, what can I do? And obviously, we look at change, and I know this is something that AHDB look at a lot, and we look at what we can do inward. So, what decisions can I make? I can drive an electric car, and I know that's controversial to many, but I think any change of something that is not good is good, and that change will then end up being something that we invest in, which makes it good. Then I rent my clothing. I'm looking at traveling by train to the mountains this winter, but then I'm looking at bigger picture, like the ripple effect. I heard this the other day. To make change, you can use your dime, your time, or your voice. And I think that, I don't have loads of dime, but I have got time for my passion, and I've got a voice. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to learn so that I can make those ripple effects. And I think sometimes with things that are so big and change and such sustainability is such a subjective opinion on so many people that people don't want to make a change in it because they think they'll be judged for all the things that they are doing wrong. Well, we've all just got to start doing the things that we can do right without changing our bigger picture and our bigger plans. And actually that is success. So I still fly by airplane. I'm not perfect, but I'm just trying to make some positive change. And I think that there's so much pressure to be completely perfect on every part of your business model that it actually puts blocking fear to actually make a change at all.
Yeah.
And on that point of fear, we've had a comment from Lindsay Heisman in the chat. She said, there's a really good book called Feel the Fears and Do It Always. Not sure if either you, Chemmy, or Max have heard about it. So thank you for that comment, Lindsay.
So Chemmy, just do you think that we should be just like yourself? You've got this mission. You can see where you're going. Do you think we should all look to? So it sounds a bit jingoistic, but adopt your direction of travel and look to do something as well ourselves to better our environment? Because if we all do that, if we're all doing a little bit, it's going to lead into something significant. Or do we just stick our heads in the sand? Chemmy, what do you think?
I mean, especially the farming community, if we stick our heads in the sand, we are not going to have a community in 50, 100 years. I mean, I hear my sons say, who are great skiers, when I hear them tell people they want to be ski racers, my heart is torn in two. I feel immensely proud that I've obviously given them this passion, but also I panic because I don't know if the sport that's brought me so much love and gratitude and passion will be around for them in 20 years. So we've got to act now. And I know I'm talking about ski racing, but it can be anything. And we've seen the impact of climate change. We've talked about it quite a lot on the farming community. So we have got to adapt. We've got to start. And some of the things aren't so scary. It's not a huge lifestyle change. Don't do something unattainable. Any changing habits have got to be that incremental. Incrementally, you step towards fear. Incrementally, you make change. And then it becomes the norm.
Yeah, well done. And I love the fact that you're investigating the sustainability element of it, because again, if you're doing it, you're positive radar, and it's going to positively affect other people. And there's such a positive movement towards this societal change. That's March. I mean, that's the terminology I was looking for. That there is this movement towards it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be realistic without trying to step over the line into politics. Within the UK political structure, there was an announcement from our PM yesterday that he's looking to make more flexible some of the changes that we're looking to go for in respect of green targets, and that's up to people to decide whether that was a good presentation or not. But we're going in the right direction of travel. Mark, do you think within agriculture we are going in the right form of travel that we can learn from Chemmy, that if we do our bit, it will make that difference?
Yeah, of course, we're going in the right direction of channel, and there's some great work that's been done by the industry. And I think thinking about some of the points that Chemmy's made in those incremental changes, facing fears, making a small directional change to have a bigger impact in the long term is definitely the things that our industry need to adopt a little bit more and need to push forward with.
So Chemmy, just out of curiosity, do you do any non-exec work? Do you advise companies or people or kids? We've also talked about your book, because I'm guessing that someone like yourself who's seen the adversity, very well traveled, seen a lot of people, you'll be able to identify very quickly the good, the bad, and the ugly, either in people or and situations. Do you ever get involved either directly or just end up helping people and companies to say, I think you're doing it wrong, or have you tried this because I think you could go in a better direction?
I would never do the former. Never say you're doing this wrong, because I don't have enough knowledge of each industry. But I always say there is an opportunity for us to all improve personally. I remember getting booked by an accountant firm a few years ago who were like, Chemmy, can you talk about marginal gains? If every single person who worked for us was better by 1%, our turnover would be 5 million more. And I'm like, okay, this is easy. So I went in and, I remember at the beginning sitting there in front of these hundreds of accountants, and they were going, oh my God, ski racer, what have we got in common with her? And at the end, they were all frothing. They were all so excited to tell me that the things that they were going to do better. and the risks they were going to take. And I was like, this is, so it is a very general message that you can apply to everyone, but I would never go into an industry and say, you're doing this wrong, because I think you have to have a huge amount of understanding to do that. I mean, unless I'm talking about my own industry. And I think we are in a positive movement of making change in everything. I think we've taken risks. I mean, look at women's empowerment across the board, look at women's sport and where we are today. And that understanding of different needs and the diversity and inclusivity that's going on in corporates around the world. I think we are understanding and learning how to bring out the best in every individual.
Yeah. Sorry, Chemmy, you've fallen into a trap here. So this is Henry and Kent. Chemmy, how do you motivate a team?
Oh, well, you need to learn the individual personalities of that team and work out how you can work together effectively. I met a perfectionist the other day who said to me, but I'm perfect, so I feel like I can lead my team. And I'm like, okay, perfectionism is actually incredibly limiting. What you want to do is search for excellence, because perfectionism, it means that you're never able to take a risk, because a risk can end in failure. So perfectionists don't go there. Whereas these people who are in pursuit of excellence, those are great leaders, because they're telling their team, I'm going to give you the confidence to make your own call and to take risks, because I know that, 80% of those risks might end up not going anywhere, but the 20% that make it, that's something that we can learn from and move forward with. And that's how we will all grow as a team. So I think that the team model is about learning that you don't want 10 people of you. When I started off running our business with my husband, I was like, I want loads more Chemmy and Dougies. But I realized there's a lot of areas that I am weak in. And so in order to have that kind of cog system that all creates positive movement together, we need to employ people who are strengths where our weaknesses are. So I think it's about a huge amount of honesty in a team and what you can deliver to the table. And sometimes those shy and retiring types are exactly who I need in my life, because I need people to listen to my mad ideas, be honest, tell me that half of them have not got any legs, and then the ones that have got legs help me to get those across the line, because I just love going at things full throttle. But you can't have a whole team of that. So I think that is an amazing thing, to have the confidence in your team to look at their individualities and put those on the table.
Yeah, go on, Mark.
I'm sorry, I think that's really important. And a colleague that we've worked with before, I think you might have worked with Dr. Paul Horwood from Stanstone Communication. He would always say that you can't have a motivated team, but what you need to have is a team, a group of motivated individuals to create that team. So just building on those points, and you're very aware of the skill sets that you're good at and skill sets that you need to dial up occasionally. Were there any particular skills and attributes that you clung on to as you transited from your professional ski racing career into your professional media TV career? Was there any particular bits that you really clung on to?
Yeah, I'm a big planner. So even when I work on telly, people think I'm reacting and I've got all this information in my head. Well, actually, that information is in my head because I've studied it, but I want to deliver it in a way that makes it look like it's off the cuff. But that doesn't come naturally to me. So I have to do a lot of preparation. And that's what you do as a ski racer. Months of the year, you're not racing, you're just preparing yourself physically and mentally. And that's what I do now. I want to prepare. I want to know that I've got all the knowledge to be able to challenge myself in those situations to be my best. So I do a huge amount of preparation work. I'm in the gym every single day, and people are like, what are you training for? I'm like, I'm training to say yes. And like, say yes to what? I'm like, I don't know, whatever might happen. Celebrity SAS, call me tomorrow, someone's out the game, are you in? Yes, I'm in. That's why I train, because you don't always have to have a concrete goal, but you just have to be prepared that you can say yes. And so I think that is the key that I've learned as an athlete that I'm bringing into life now.
Brilliant.
So Chemmy, just coming back to the teams and Henry's point there, how you talk about how would you select a team? So because within farming, it's all about teams, and you've got you as the business leader, the farm manager, the farm owner, or the farm foreman, and you've got to motivate these individuals where everything's coming back on yourself. How do you motivate yourself How do you motivate the team? How do you select the team? Let's start with how do you motivate yourself? You're very driven, but we all know what it's like at this sort of grand old age that we are with kids and the pressure of that and business and relationship. How do you keep yourself motivated, Chemmy?
I mean, my motivation as a leader is seeing the confidence in others build underneath me. Like, if you can create confidence in your team, whatever they're doing, then that is a complete success. And I think that structuring that at the start, like if you're in an employment stage, knowing your weaknesses and finding people who can tick those boxes but still have the same passions as you. I think the passion has to be there, the heart has to be there. You know, you've got to have the same goals, but that doesn't mean you're the same person. You can find other people with the same goals who can then, you know, slit into your frame of opportunities for growth. You know, I know that I'm not good at IT. I'm not good at organization skills. I can find people who love skiing, who are good at that, who can then come into our business and excel and be confident enough to take the lead on that. And that, you know, that there's no issue with being a leader and having other people lead in 70% of your business, as long as you are, you know, managing them, making sure that the environment that you're creating is one where you're promoting confidence enough to look outside the box, to take risks.
Is training and development important to you and to the people, the companies that you're involved with?
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling people that I'm doing this carbon literacy training at the moment. People are like, oh, why are you doing that? I'm like, because knowledge is power. Like, I want to keep growing my head. And actually, I got to a phase where, being a new mum and working all the time, I was just existing. I was that swan upstream, and I was just managing to do everything. Whereas now my youngest has just started school this September. So I've got more space to grow and to read and to learn. And you should never stop learning.
Yeah.
However good you are at something, there's definitely more to absorb.
Chemmy, well done. We're just going to give a big endorsement to the AHDB. There's a standard graph of when you start off in life and your formative years and career. You get trained, and then you get into midlife, and your training drops off, but your seniority quite often goes up. But if anything, you need more training then. And Mark, help me then. That's when you need the likes of the AHDB to fill in the gaps on any training that you might be potentially weak on to make you even better.
Yeah, no, whether it be on the formal kind of delivery that we offer across all the sectors and all the technical updates, again, it's just absorbing information which is at the coalface, at the cutting edge, and pushing forward, or whether it be there's a range of courses out there in the sector that can help push people forward. I would probably personally recognise that you get to that point. So I've just got myself a mentor. That is something I'll never do. I've pushed myself out of the comfort zone and I'm now working with a leading business consultant to help fill in the gaps and identify the areas where I need to go to push on to the next level. So that's
Chemmy, Mark has cuddled fear, and he's got
and he's embracing it. He's embracing unknown territory, and I think that's so important. And you know, so many people are like, oh, I must aspire to be the best in the business. I must aspire. Well, that's out of your control. If someone is in that spot, that is out of your control. But what you can be is you can be the best in your space, willing to learn and absorb in your space. Because I think we're a society where we're driven by this hierarchical, you must be better. Once you get there, whether it's personal or professional, even like in our personal lives, once you get married, when you're having your kid, once you've had a kid, when you're having your next kid, like there always has to be a next thing. Well, how about sitting where you are and being honest with yourself in your space and going, I'm going to be the very best in my space and keep learning and build this space, build this role to be better and bigger. And then you're not determined. Then you're not always looking at the future that is out of your control, going, right, I'm going to be CEO. Well, you can't be CEO unless that person retires or if that person moves on and that person, what you can be is bloody the best you can be at your job.
Yeah, well done. And the caveat to that is that the average CEO in the UK business structure of all industries lasts 18 months. And it's probably a bit like being prime minister or the England football coach. At some point, you're going to get kicked out. So it actually, Chemmy, taking on what you said, if you can find a role that you really enjoy and you can prosper with it for the long term, it's going to be far more beneficial for you.
Huge.
So come on, Mark, what have we learned today from Chemmy?
I think it's been a privilege to have you on again, and just the little things that you've touched on in terms of the book, belly butterflies to dragon wings, and that embracing of fear. And I think a lot of things is individuals need to just step a little bit outside their comfort zone. You need to grasp on and have an awareness of what the areas that you're good at, which you're very good at, and then drive into that next chapter, that next direction, focusing on the bits that you're good at, and then trying to not necessarily plan everything, but take the direction and steer of where it goes moving forward, which is it's brilliant.
Excellent. And I just love this line. We said it 4 or 5 times now, and it's such a lovely way of presenting it. You need to cuddle fear. If you're going to progress, Chemmy Mark, if you want to progress, you need to cuddle fear. It's got to be a bit uncomfortable, and it might work, it might not work. But Chemmy, as you've said, in some ways, you've got to be a bit proud of failure sometimes, because it's going to make you better.
Not in some ways. In some ways, I have only grown and evolved through the mistakes and the failings that I've made, not any medals I've won. Because when I fail, I reflect on why I failed, and then I know how to build on that for next time. So I think it's imperative. And I always tell you guys this, but you never lose. Either you win or you learn. So that is the philosophy of going out there and being your very best every single day, because the satisfaction that comes with that, of going to bed going, you know what, I won an award today, or my crops were amazing today, or this happened today and it was a disaster. You're learning through that, whatever it is. Yeah,
you need to cuddle fear, turning belly butterflies into dragon wings. My contact Henry has said it's great that Chemmy is obviously her own mentor. It's great that Mark has got his own mentor. Max, you need a fashion mentor. Where did you get that shirt from?
From Isaac.
It does look like an Isaac shirt.
You brought
a little bit of Isaac with us today.
Talking to failures, Mark, wrap up for us before Henry comes back online. Probably Isaac anyway.
Again, Chemmy, it's been an absolute privilege. You're always great to work with, and I think there's some real good gems of points that you've pulled out here. And like you say, you never lose, you always win or learn, and people just need to keep striving to do a bit better and step out of their comfort zone and push forward.
And don't be a sheep. When your tractor sees, an easier, well-trodden path, veer off it, find another path to plow down, because that's the way you can carve your own way. So it's just, you have an amazing potential in your industry, and your industry is incredible at listening to the needs of it. And I think I have to thank you for that, Mark. All the support that you put in place, and even, doing a podcast, you're the only industry that I work with who have their own podcast that is willing to listen to people. I don't do work on a podcast level with anyone else on a yearly basis who's ready to kind of educate and support the people in their industry. So I want to congratulate you guys for that.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And Chemmy, we just got a big you up. I know that the bulk of people dialing in or listening will know of you, but where can we find more of you, especially as we've got the winter season coming up? And get the book. Yeah.
So listen, so this is my thing with the book. So I've been thinking about this book for ages, and for the last 4 months I've started talking about it so that I'm held accountable and I actually write it. There's 6 chapters and I've written 2, so I am getting there. So the book, I'm thinking next winter will be out. It is for your children, but it's to normalize fear with support of parents. The amount of parents that I hear saying, why are you scared? You shouldn't be scared. And I'm like, don't diminish fear in young people, support them and grow through it. So it isn't, Mark, you might enjoy it, Peachy, that's my main character, which means brave in Native American, might be able to help you. But obviously in the winter, we've got 7 shows on Ski Sunday starting January the 7th. I'm always around for, checking in with you all on here. I've got my social media accounts that I do reply personally to. A lot of people think that, you have a massive team, but it's not. If anyone needs any support from anything I've said today, reach out on social media and I will get back to you. And thank you for having me.
Excellent.
Thank you. Until next time, Chemmy, we'll see you soon.
I've got to do something big this year. So I've got a year. This is great. See, you're holding me accountable to have a year of my life where I've got an hour to talk about interesting change by September 2024. Okay, it's on, guys. But how about I throw it back to you? I want to hear something that you guys have done in September, by September 2024. Completely changed your goals and avenue, okay?
the challenges yet. Oh, Max is going to get a new shirt, and we need to do something wacky.
Excellent. Chemmy, thank you. Mark, thank you. And we'll catch up on the next AHDB Talking Leaders in October. Chemmy, you're brilliant as always. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.